behind the story about Muggsy Bogues as it pertains to short shot.
So, Muggsy was 5'3". He played in the NBA for maybe 17 years. And I was able to get him to come to short shot. And he gets out of the limousine and he comes and all the kids, there's hundreds and hundreds of kids. And he opens the door and he walks into the gym. And the kids barrage, they tackle him. And he's so little. And the kids in the camp were bigger than him. And I'm blowing the whistle. There's 40 coaches. They're all trying to get the kids off. Finally, I see him on the bottom. And I look, I say, Muggsy, I'm sorry. He looks at me and he looks up at me. He goes, yo, man, it's cool. Don't worry about it. And that was so funny. He was so little, man.
That's great.
To play in the NBA for that long is incredible.
Fantastic. That's really great.
We had Stoudemire. We had Vince Carter. Some really, really great players.
Yeah.
Really incredible
I'm
players.
telling you, it's something that my kids on a personal level still attend short shot, and it's just
I'm looking forward to my grandkids coming and still being there, hopefully.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's skip ahead. Let's discuss your transition. So we talked a lot about your playing career and what it meant to you as a player in your life and personal. How did the transition happen from player to coach?
So I always wanted for my kids to be part of basketball. And my son, when Morris was born, I was just so excited to have a son to coach. And I would try to play basketball with him in the backyard, but he just wasn't into it. I mean, he was playing with pocketbooks up until second grade. And
I'm sure Morris would be thrilled to hear that.
He knows the story. He knows, and I would beg him, and I would do everything, and I would try. And I used to get up, early in the morning and before school and, have a baseball catch with him. And he just wasn't interested. And then one day we're in the backyard and I'm shooting alone. He wasn't even there. And he just picks up the ball and he starts shooting. And I'm like, what? All this time playing with pocketbooks, now you're shooting? So he started to play and I started to work with him every day.
Really?
And then I wanted to get him to play with regular guys, not just in the yeshiva league and the whole thing. So I took him to, I think it was in 5th grade, to Our Lady of Grace. Mm-hmm. It's the church here in UW. And I applied to be a coach over there. And I coached him from 5th grade up until 8th grade at Our Lady of Grace. And
that was your first foray into coaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the first one. And at the same time, when he was in 6th grade, I went to Magen David and I said, I would love to coach him and his friends because they were always at the house. And that was the beginning. I think it was 2005, 2006 was the first year. 6th grade, we went undefeated. 7th grade, we went undefeated. 8th grade, we were 13-1, 12-1, and we lost at the buzzer to Ramaz.
Oh, my God.
JV, we won JV 19-0. We won there. And then varsity, we got upset in the semifinals, and I never got a chance to win a varsity championship with Morris. So, but the experience of coaching with my own son was really.
You were locked in
every day. We're locked in every day, every night. It was really incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible. And then I was in. I remember people used to say, "Okay, now that Morris is graduating," it was 2012, 13 maybe. And I said, okay, so you're going to stop coaching? I said, not really. I'm really enjoying it. And
you also had 2 boys coming up through the system.
I had 2 boys. I had my son Elliot and Allie. And I was looking forward just to continuing. So it was great to just be there. It's the bonding and the friends and everything. But the truth is the main goal is winning.
Yeah. So
it's not fun when you're not winning.
Yeah.
For the majority of the time with Morris's teams, we won, 90-95% of the games. It was really incredible.
That must have been a special group.
It was
normal.
There was Jeffrey Pardo, Leon Batesh, Barry Sitt, Morris, Benny Mann, Coach Benny Mann, Bijou, all the boys that were there. They were at my house every day, and we used to go on trips together. I used to take them to dinner every night. It was just like a tremendous bonding experience for everybody. But it was nice. I felt a little empty because I remember the last time we played a game, and I've been with them since 6th grade.
Right.
They all came to Magen David. None of those kids, only one kid went to Flatbush. but the majority of the kids that were playing, they were up since 6th grade all the way through 12th grade.
Which is again very unusual to have a coach stay with the team
Yeah,
that many
yeah.
years straight.
I'm
And that,
great-
that's probably never
yeah.
been done again. I mean, since
No.
then, because at this point you're locked in on varsity and you're not going back.
I was grateful. Ike Edid asked me if I wanted to coach my son, and he was coaching at the time with JV, and he was kind enough to let me grow with the kids at JV.
That's with who? With Elliot.
With Morris at the time.
Oh, you're saying
Morris.
you joined Ike? I got you. I got you.
So he went down to 8th grade at the time, and I moved up, and I just kept going up to varsity.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. I've been there ever since.
Unbelievable.
And then Elliot came a few years later.
And Elliot, you just met him at varsity.
I just met him at varsity, but I was kind of like helping coaches along the way when he was in the different grades, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever it was. And that was a great experience. I coached Elliot 11th grade, but then 12th grade, the season was in the playoffs was cut short with COVID. And then my son Ali, who I always feel terrible, I didn't get a chance to coach him because he was a year behind Elliot.
So then there was no season.
There was no season.
The season you took off.
I didn't take off. I got sick for that year.
Just trying to say it nicely.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. It's God's will. That's it. And then I just was a spectator watching Ali. And when I was coaching, after Morris had graduated, Benny was my assistant coach. And when I got sick, I asked him if he would hold the fort until I'm able to come back. And Benny was a real champ.
Wow.
He was great. He said, anytime, you're like a father to me. And that year, to the end of the year, I went to the doctor, and he said, you're ready to go back, just no screaming.
Yeah, I'm sure you listened to that.
So I wasn't a good trade-off, So I came back, and Benny, and then I got Mozart, Coach Mozart, who is pretty famous. He's the assistant. Leo Esses was my assistant as well. So
Leo is my partner on the broadcast.
On the broadcast, right. So Leo now is coaching his own team.
My son.
That's right. No nepotism there, that's for sure.
No, that's all right. That's okay.
All right.
What qualities are you looking for in a student athlete when you're bringing him into your program?
That's a great question. You've been working hard on those questions, yeah?
I sure have.
Student athlete. So I know all the things that I missed out when I was an athlete. I wasn't really such a student. I didn't want people to have that experience missing out on school. In fact, even today, one of the teachers called me from school and told me one of the players, one of the 11th grade players, not doing so good in his class, and he knows that he'll listen to me if I speak to him. I think the value of education today, especially, is so valuable. There's not a lot you can do today without education. So if you're not doing well in school, you're not going to play on my team. It's just not going to happen. You have to show the discipline, the structure. You have to really be committed to the whole program.
Right.
And that's really so important.
Player and character development. How do you get your players to grow as individuals, not just as athletes?
We threaten them. Either you're going to follow the rules or you're off the team. And it's become such a tremendous thing to play on a Mag and David basketball team. It's an honor. And you got to earn it. I mean, we're practicing 4 nights a week. We played last year during that championship season 41 games. It's more than colleges play.
Yes.
And if you're not keeping up your grades, last year we had 4 scholars, Mag and David scholars, kids, 4 of them. And we would practice till 10, 11 at night, and they'd go back to study till 1 in the morning, and they'd make minyan in the morning.
Yeah, in episode 1, we had Josh and Phil, 2 of those scholars, and they talked about the balance between making sure that their studies were done and hitting the gym.
Yeah, because not only the games and practices, but they got to get to the gym to work on their own game.
Exactly.
So it's quite the commitment. But I wanted the players to feel like they're in a professional environment. I want them to feel like this is the pros. And if you have the opportunity to play here, then you could do anything. And if you could succeed here, you could succeed out there in the world. So
before my next question, I just want to throw it in there. I felt like it was a good spot. I heard a little rumor that you're approaching 300 wins.
I think so. Yeah, I think Benny had mentioned to me that we're coming close to 300 wins. I think 295, something like that.
Unbelievable.
It's pretty cool. It's
You
pretty
got to
cool.
put pressure on the current boys. We better hit it this year.
Yeah, better do it. I
We're
don't know
not
how much
carrying
longer
that
I'm going to be around.
We're
But
not carrying that one over to the next season.
absolutely.
Setbacks, losses. How do you handle that amongst the boys and keep the morale high on the team?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question because you're dealing with teenagers.
Yeah, and they're emotional, and they get to a certain
Exactly.
point where they lose a game, they may feel like failures.
They feel like this is the end of the world, right? There's something that they can't accomplish. But we always build the character, right? The character of the individual is who we're building. We want them to understand that in life, the losses will build. The losses that you have today will be wins tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had many losses, tough losses that it's hard to overcome. But it's important to know that this is basketball, right? And hopefully it'll prepare you for life.
In a season, let's talk about last year's season, because I think a lot of people really want to get into the details of last year's magical run. In a season that had very few setbacks, there was one crucial, let's call it a setback, that actually ended up being a spring forward. You had a game against Frisch in December in MDY.
Right.
What happened that night?
So we had been pretty much, we had a great team last year. We had, every kid knew their role. We had a good start. I didn't really think it was a magical season. We had, in 2018 when we won the championship, we were 17-0 that year.
Right.
And those guys always call me and text me. We're still better than those guys, They were, I think we were 16-1 last year, but we were on a roll. And winter vacation, I think it was winter vacation, and we came back and we were just sluggish, and we played Frisch at home. And I think they beat us by like 17, 18 points. It was like they destroyed us. It was like a joke. It was like we couldn't even compete.
Right.
And after the game, I told the guys in my very unique way, you're not losing again, because I don't like this feeling, especially with this team.
Right.
And we went on a 24-game winning streak. Which
I'm
culminated.
laughing just thinking about it.
It really was incredible. You're not adding them up as you're going, but when you're playing, you know every game is going to be a win.
Yeah.
Like we were playing in the Ramaz tournament, we were losing to North Shore 18 or 19-2. And I called timeout. I looked at these guys and I just started laughing. I said, "Coach, what are you laughing about?" I go, "I know you're going to come back and beat these guys, but what do you got to get me so angry, We ended up beating him by like 15 points.
Wow.
It was quite the turnaround. And then we went on a roll that culminated in the championship against Flatbush. And then we played in the Yeshiva tournament, which is after the season and all the excitement.
Right.
And I didn't know what we were going to get from these kids. It was so much basketball, so much excitement. And we just rolled through everybody.
Finals.
And we played against Eula in the
finals.
finals. And these California teams are way higher than all the yeshiva teams.
You still took it to overtime.
It took it to overtime, and we lost in overtime.
Yeah.
But
There was
like
definitely a
bittersweet.
basketball or a mental fatigue there at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but leading up against Flatbush for the first time that we've had that experience. I don't think there's been a Magan Flatbush championship finals.
So I want to talk about that for a second. So you guys had clinched the championship game first, and then I think it was a Thursday night semis that Flatbush had in their gym. And they were losing, and then they got on the line and missed some foul shots. There was a lot of back and forth there. At the end of that game, obviously you get the notification that you're playing Flatbush. Right. What's your preparation look like at that point? I think at that point you beat them in Memphis.
No. We beat them in the preseason tournament.
Preseason.
We lost in Memphis.
Without
Jack Haber,
right?
Which is very unique because Jack Haber didn't lose a game the whole year,
right?
Except for that final against Eula,
right?
But he tore his ligaments the night before Saturday night, so we're playing without him. So we lost to them in Memphis.
And then you came back and you beat them on Moses' shot.
No. I think we beat them in Flatbush
first,
and then we came here, and we had that up by 16 points.
Blew it.
And we blew it. Sardar dislocated his finger in the game. And his mother came to the bench.
Yes, I remember.
Which was very. We don't do that.
And Haber
fouled out.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the fourth quarter, we were cruising, and then all of a sudden, Flatbush played great. They just steamrolled us all the way to the end, and then Smecky pulled out that gorgeous shot,
So now you get the notification. You're playing Flappers. Now what? What's the preparation look like at that point?
So the truth was, it really does help that you played in that championship game before. Like we played in 2018
Yeah.
and 19, and then we were back to back.
Yes.
That was the
You almost won
Nasseri,
that.
Natkin, Ray J, Mala, and Stephen Miz. We almost went back to back for the first time in 20 years. No
Yeah.
other team has done that for quite some time. But I didn't realize towards the end what it was all about. Like, okay, we're playing a game. We're going to compete. We're going to work hard. We already knew each other pretty well. But to see what happened in the community during that
Yeah.
period was amazing. It was really incredible to see. The schools had tickets to give out to the kids. The kids were selling them on eBay.
Yeah.
People were sneaking in. It was
It was the hottest ticket in town. Everybody wanted to be there, and the truth is, the show lived up to all that hype. You started off the game. It was just, the place was electric.
Yeah.
You could feel it. Halftime comes, you down 28-22.
Right.
Two questions now. One, what are you feeling at that point? And two, what was your message to the boys in the locker room?
So we had some foul trouble in the first half. I think Smecky had three fouls. Sardar had 3 fouls. So they really didn't play a full first half. Mm-hmm. And I called timeout, and I told them, just relax. Just hold it under 10, and we can compete in the second half. And these guys had a special motor. These guys really, Haber always kept them in line. Mm-hmm. Josh was, as an 11th grader, he was a man beyond his years. Phil was controlling everything.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Smecky was, this is a guy from Deal.
Yep.
But even though he was in Brooklyn for the first 8 years at Mag and David, he had a special quality about him. Really could start the whole turnaround of that game.
So you weren't worried, bottom line.
Listen, of course you're worried. You don't want to lose, especially a game like that, a monumental game that the whole community is watching. And the pressure builds. Doesn't matter who you are. It's just a lot of pressure. People, the crowd. It was a very exciting time.
It really was. So ultimately, in the end, you guys won the game. You pulled it out. You pulled it out in overtime, and we were. I guess there was a certain point where the stands were ready to really explode, and everyone was going to storm the court. So I came down, and I was standing under the basket, and I just felt it. I took out my camera and I started videoing you, and with 14 seconds left in overtime, you realize this is ours. And the crowd was just giving it to you. They were loving it. They were clapping. And for the first time that I've ever seen, you turned around and you gave the love right back to the crowd. And we'll show you the video here. What was that feeling like? Was it just all the pressure off your shoulders?
I think if anybody ever says there's not pressure, right, they're lying. You can try to act cool and think that everything's going to always be okay, but you don't want to lose that game. And I think finally at the end, it was like a giant exhale because there was so many things going against us. The fouls, the crowd was up and down. It was so many
momentum shift.
Yeah, there was so many turning points in the game. We should have won it before overtime, and then we had a turnover.
Right.
So I guess it was a giant exhale.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but it was a great feeling.
It must have been. Two last questions very quickly. One is, what are you feeling about this season? You have a very strong JV team. You have a strong varsity team still competing out there. What are your hopes? What are your goals for the season?
I think walking into the season, it's just, I didn't know what to expect because you really had only a few varsity 12th grade players, seniors that were here. So I didn't know what to expect, but they're really surprising me. They work hard, these guys. We lost a couple of games early, but we are now on a 4-game winning streak, and these guys are really working hard. They're starting to believe in themselves, and it's really exciting. It took me a few months once the season started. Like probably last month, I was just going through the motions, and then we played a couple of games that were intense games, and the fever came back again. So it was like great, very exciting.
The addiction was back. All right.
Yeah.
Very great to have you on here, Spike.
you,
We
Coach.
appreciate your time. We know
Thank
you're a
you.
busy man, and I think some of the insights that we got here tonight really delve into what it means to be a varsity basketball player. For all you kids out there watching, it's something to aspire to. It's something to look forward to, and we at the school and the yeshiva are very lucky to have Spike at the helm of our basketball program.
Thank you.
Ike, thank you very much.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.